As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma and Jake stood before the towering gates of the abandoned amusement park. The gates creaked as they pushed them open, revealing a foggy expanse filled with decaying rides and overgrown pathways. "Are you sure about this?" Jake whispered, his flashlight trembling in his hand. Emma nodded, her curiosity outweighing her fear, as they stepped further into the eerie silence. Rusting roller coasters loomed overhead, their tracks disappearing into the mist. The carousel stood still, its once bright horses now faded and cracked, their painted smiles haunting. A broken ticket booth with shattered glass seemed to watch them as they passed by. The faint sound of children's laughter echoed, but there was no one in sight. Jake froze. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. They followed the sound to a funhouse with peeling paint and a gaping entrance like a hungry mouth. Inside, the distorted mirrors reflected not just Emma and Jake but strange, shadowy figures. The air grew colder as they ventured deeper into the funhouse, their footsteps echoing unnaturally. A hidden door creaked open, revealing a dark staircase spiraling downward. "Should we go down?" Emma asked, gripping the railing tightly. Jake hesitated but nodded. "We've come this far." The basement smelled of damp and decay, and the faint glow of strange symbols illuminated the walls. Emma shone her flashlight on a dusty journal lying on the floor. She opened it, revealing pages filled with cryptic drawings and warnings of a terrible curse. A sudden gust of wind flipped the pages to a drawing of a clown's face, its grin unnervingly wide. The ground beneath them trembled, and a low, guttural growl echoed from the darkness. Emma grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to get out of here." But the door they had come through was gone, replaced by a solid wall of stone. Their flashlights flickered, casting fleeting glimpses of movement in the shadows. A faint glow appeared ahead, leading them into a massive chamber filled with skeletal remains. "What happened here?" Jake whispered, his voice shaking. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, casting eerie patterns across the room. Emma noticed an old, leather-bound book lying on an altar in the center of the room. As she reached for it, a ghostly figure emerged, its hollow eyes staring right through her. "Leave this place," it whispered, its voice echoing from all directions. But the door behind them opened again, revealing a path they hadn't seen before. They ran, the ghostly figure following close behind, its presence cold and menacing. The hallway led to another room, where an old merry-go-round spun slowly without power. Each horse had a face carved into it, their expressions shifting as Emma and Jake passed by. "This place is alive," Emma said, her voice barely audible. Jake spotted a key dangling from one of the horses' mouths and grabbed it hesitantly. The key was cold to the touch, and the room seemed to sigh as he took it. They unlocked a door leading back to the surface, but the park looked even more menacing than before. The fog thickened, and the rides began to creak and groan as if waking up. The ghostly figure reappeared, now more solid, its eyes glowing with anger. Emma clutched the book, flipping through the pages, searching for anything to stop it. She found an incantation and began to read aloud, her voice trembling. The ghost let out an ear-piercing scream, lunging toward them. A blinding light erupted from the book, pushing the ghost back into the shadows. The entire park began to shake, the ground cracking open to reveal glowing spirits rising from the earth. The spirits swirled around the park, their faces filled with sorrow and relief. Emma continued the incantation as the ghost's form dissolved into the light. The park's gates creaked open, the air suddenly calm and still. Emma and Jake stepped outside, the first light of dawn breaking through the mist. They turned back to see the park fading into the fog, as though it had never been there. "Do you think it's really over?" Jake asked, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Emma didn't answer. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching them. Back home, Emma stared out her bedroom window, her reflection showing a shadowy figure behind her. Jake found a ticket stub from the park on his desk, though he was sure he hadn't brought it home. A faint whisper echoed in his room, "It's not over." The abandoned amusement park disappeared into legend. But its curse lingered, waiting for its next visitors.